Hello and welcome in this tutorial about DialogueMaster for Unreal Engine 5. In this tutorial I will show you how to set up DialogueMaster to integrate with your existing project or a totally new project. Before we dive into the technical aspects, let's take a look at a demo showcasing what you can achieve with DialogueMaster. Hi, I'm Deacon. And I'm Sam. Can we do something for you? I want a sword. I give you this one. I hope it will do the job. Wow, your sword looks epic. Where did you find it? Tell me. It's you again? Can we do something for you? Yes, do you have any job for me? I travel to help people I met on my way. Oh, nice! I've heard about a village around here that is frequently attacked by creatures. Maybe you should go there and help the village, no? I think it's not a mission for me. Sounds too dangerous. It's you again? So, maybe you change your mind, find courage, and want to help the village? Oh, sure, I will go. It's you again? Any news about the village? So, first thing first, you can create a new project or open your existing project. Here I am creating a project for this tutorial. So, when the project is opened, you can go to Edit Plugins, because we are going to enable required plugins. So, first we will enable DialogueMaster, and it also requires Enhanced Input and Common UI, so we will make sure that these plugins are also enabled. Common UI. So Common UI is not enabled. Just enable it and restart the editor. So when the project is restarted, you can go ahead and create a PlayerController class, because we have a component that we need to be accessed by actors in the scene, and the best way to store it is to add it to a PlayerController class. So I will go ahead and create a folder to store everything that's relative to this tutorial, and then go ahead and create a new blueprint class and select this PlayerController class as our base class. I will name it BP Custom PlayerController. Save it all, and then we are going to edit the game mode to use this custom PlayerController class. So we can find it by going in world settings, and then we have this game mode reference. Here we can go and browse to asset in Content Browser. The asset is here, and here we can select our custom PlayerController class. Okay, that's done. And then we will come back to the custom PlayerController, open it, and we are going to edit it. So we are going to edit the custom PlayerController class, and first thing we have to do is to add the DialogueMaster component to it. So just search for DialogueMaster component and add it to this class. You can compile and save that. And then the second thing we have to do is to implement an interface, more precisely the BPI DialogMasterInterface. So we are going to the class settings, and here we will add an implemented interface and just search for BPI DialogueMasterInterface. It will add two functions to implement. Here we have one relative to DialogueMasterUI, so it's for the user interface that we will set up later. And the first one here is for getting the DialogueMaster component, so we will go ahead and implement that. Just double click on it, and then all we have to do is returning the component we just added to the class. So just set up it like that, compile and save. So that's done. Now we are going to set up the user interface. So go back to the event graph, and here in the begin play event we will add a little bit of code to create the widget and store it and add it to the viewport. So let's do that. So first we create a widget. We will select the WBP Dialog UI. Then we'll make a variable from it, so just promote it to variable. You can rename this variable, so I will name it DialogueMasterUI, and just connect that. And then the unique player will be self, so get a reference to self and connect that to unique player. And finally we just need to add it to viewport, and that's done. So we'll select that and command that. So we create the DialogueMasterUI, save a reference to it, and add it to the viewport. Okay, so second thing we have to do is now implementing this second method. So just double click on it and return the DialogueMasterUI, and that's done. You can compile and set that, and we will go ahead to the next section. The next thing we have to do is to add the dialogue player actor to the level. So if you haven't already done that, you can go to settings here and check show engine content, so you will see the engine plugins content here. And now you can select all classes and search for dialogue player, but we don't want this dialogue player, we want the implementation already done in Blueprint. So we'll search it and go to engine folder, plugins. Then you have to search for DialogueMaster folder, so it's here, and go to DialogueMasterComponent folder. Here you have the Blueprint folder, and here you have the BP Dialog Player actor. Just drag and drop it into the level. Then you can reset its coordinates, so it's at the origin of the world, and then you can set it to 1000, so it will be with the other actor here. Okay, you can save all, and that's done. So now we will tag our player character, because DialogueMaster needs to be able to identify the actor on which it's supposed to target the camera on. To do so, it uses tag to link the dialogue and the character together. So what we're going to do is to tag our character player. So go to third person, blueprints, and in this folder you will have PP third person character. Go ahead and open it, and here all we have to do is to select the BP third person character root and search for tags, and here we will add a tag that will match with what we are going to use as name for our player. So in this tutorial I will call my player player, and we will have to reuse this name in the dialog graph, so DialogueMaster can search for the correct actor to target the camera on. So compile and save that. And our player character is now tagged and ready to be used with DialogueMaster. So now you can create our first dialogue asset. So come back into the dialogue system folder we created before, and here we can create a new folder for dialogues. And to create a dialogue asset, you just have to right click here, and you will have a DialogueMaster asset here. You can create it, and we can name it G example dialogue. Save it and open it. So the dialogue editor will show up. Here you have the start node. It's the default node, and the first thing you will have to do is configure the dialogue actors. So first we will configure the player actor. Here you see you have an actor identifier. It corresponds to the tag we set on the third person character. So just set it the same name that you set in your character blueprint, and then you can set up a color for the actor node, and then when you right click here you can add a node for a player, for example, and here it's a dialogue line. So if you want your player to say something, you can select the node and then expand replic, and here you can set the text that the character have to say. So as an example, hello, I am the player. And you can see the text here, it's displayed here. And if you want to play this, you just have to connect the start node to the node created. You can see that there is a lot of parameters. I will explain it later. It's all option you can have to play sound, have a face lip sync, have a body animation, and managing the camera used to show the character. Here you can set up the default shot. So the default shot is the camera that will be used when you don't set any camera shot here. So for the player you can select as an example a front right player camera, and for the dialogue actor we can add a new actor. I will name it as an example Daikon, and for this default shot I will set it to front left camera. Save it, and then you can add a new node for Daikon. So as you can see, when you had actor here, it had option here to directly create a dialogue node for any actor that exists in this list. So as an example, Daikon can say, hi player, I am Daikon. And then you can connect it. So the dialogue will be played from the start node and then follow the connection. And you can add another node. You can also drag and drop from the output pin and add a new node for Daikon. And as an example, Daikon can say, what do you want? So now we are going to create a dialogue actor for Daikon. So go ahead and go to the dialogue system folder and create a new blueprint class. Select character as the base class and name it BP dialogue character. Then open it, compile and save it, and we will select our example character as SKM Manny. Then we will place the mesh correctly according to the capsule position. So check the capsule height and set it as an offset to the mesh so it's correctly placed. Then compile and save it. And now you can place our actor in the level. Save all. And now what we have to do is to link this actor to the decon dialog character. So we are going to tag it with the tag decon. Save all. Now we are going to create a dialog trigger volume to start the dialog when the player reach the capsule. So create a new blueprint class, select actor as the base class, name it BP dialog trigger volume. Open it, compile and save it. We are going to add a sphere collider, and on the sphere we are going to implement the on-component begin overlap. It will create a new event in the event graph, and we are going to implement it this way. So we first get PlayerController, because the DialogueMasterComponent is on our PlayerController. Then we call the interface to get the dialog component with this method. And then on the DialogueMasterComponent, we can call the function playDialog. So here we have a dialog to play. So instead of selecting the dialog here, we can promote this to a variable, and it's named dialog, so it's okay. We are going to set it so it's instance editable and expose on spawn. Compile and save it. And then we have to set the NPC actor reference and the player actor reference. These two parameters will be used in custom action and custom condition. We will see it later. So to get the actor for the player, we can get the other actor of the collision that will be the player and set it here. And for the NPC, we can promote it to a variable, and we will set it directly in the level. We have to set it instance editable and expose on spawn. Compile and save it. Now you can close it, and we are going to use it in the scene to trigger the dialog. Just increase the sphere radius. You can do it here. Okay. And you can select the dialog to play and the actor reference for the NPC. So the actor reference for the NPC is this actor. So it's the dialog character. And save all. We can try it. And what we can see is that the camera offset is not okay. We will correct it later. And the second thing we can see is that the dialog actor we created has no animation. So we will set the anim BP so it can have animation on it. So come back in the dialog character, and here in the anim class you can select the ABP many, so it has a better pose. Compile and save it. So it fixed the dialog character pose, but we still have the camera offset to fix. Now we are going to correct the camera offset issue. So this issue is here because sometimes the root of a character is not positioned to its fit. So we have to indicate to DialogueMaster where the character fits are and the forward direction of the character. So to do so, we are going to implement the DialogActorInterface on the third person character, and then we will do the same work on the BP dialog character. So go ahead and begin with the third person character BP. To implement the interface, we go in class settings, and we had the DialogActorInterface. It's add here a function to implement. Go ahead and implement it. We will have to return a transform. So to get this return value, we are going to add an arrow to the character to get its fit position and its forward direction. So add an arrow. And as you can see, the current root of the character is positioned here, so that's why the camera offset is not good. So we will name it forward direction. Now we will place it correctly. So an offset of -88 will be good. That's what we done for the mesh. And the direction is already good, so we have nothing to do with the rotation. Come back to this method, and take the forward direction. And here you can get the relative transform and return it. Compile and save it. Now we are going to do the same work on the second class we use. So go to the dialog system and open the dialog character, add an arrow. And what we can see is that the rotation is not good. So we name it also forward direction. And we will rotate it of 90 degrees. So the arrow direction is the same as the character mesh. Go to class setting, add the DialogActorInterface, and implement this function. Get the forward direction, get the relative transform, and return it. Compile and save it. So now if you play the game, you can see that for the player it's okay, but here we done a mistake, and that's because on the dialog character the arrow is not correctly placed. It must be just under the capsule component. So just fix that, and now it will be okay, as you can see. And now we're going to add a Metahuman in our project. To do so, you can go to Window, Quick Cell Bridge, and then you can go to Metahuman, and from the preset or your collection you can import any Metahuman in your project. To import the Metahuman, you just have to select one, then if you haven't downloaded it, download it, and then you can add it to the project. You can add 2 or 3 Metahumans to the project so we can play with them. When importing Metahumans to your project, you will have a warning message that indicates that there are missing plugins and settings. So just click on Enable Missing. After enabling a missing plugin, you will have to restart the editor, but I will just restart it later when I finish to add Metahuman to the project. So now I have my 3 Metahumans in the project. I just need to restart the editor, so just restart the editor. When it's restarted, now we can go ahead and create playable Metahuman, so we can play it instead of playing the default third-person character. To do so, open the Metahuman you want to play. I will choose as an example Oscar. I will duplicate this BP. There is still missing plugins, so just enable missings. I will finish to rename the BP as BP playable Metahuman, and then restart the editor. Now you can open the playable Metahuman, and what we are going to do is going to class setting and changing the parent class to BP third person character. Compile and save it. Go to the viewport. Here is what we have. So select the mesh, set it to SKM Mani. Also change the ABP to ABP Mani. And next, you will have to take the Metahuman and set the mesh as its root. Then select the root and reset its position and rotation. And in the variable, you can see that there is a category with live retarget. Here you can select this variable and set it to true. So the Metahuman is retargeted from SKM Mani. Compile and save it. And now we are going to hide the Mani mesh, so select the mesh, search for visible, uncheck visible, and change the visibility based anim tick option to always tick pause and refresh bones. And one last step is to come back to the event graph, go to the event begin play, and we are going to add a call to the parent function and connect it just like that. And now your Metahuman will be playable as your main character. Just compile and save it. Now to play with our BP playable Metahuman, we have to change the game mode, search for BP third person game mode, and here we are going to change the default pawn class, and we will set it to BP playable Metahuman. Compile and save it, and if we hit play, now we are going to play with the Metahuman. Okay, so as you can see, we have an issue with the hair of the Metahuman. This might be relative to the plugin that we enabled when creating the duplication of BP Oscar. So we will go ahead and just recreate it so we don't have any issue anymore. So just come back to the third person game mode. Here we are going to reset third person character. Then come back here, remove the playable Metahuman that we created, and we will redo the setup. We duplicate it, go to class setting, change the base class, compile and save, then take the root and drag and drop it to the mesh, then reset the location and rotation, enable live retargeting, set it to BP Mani and SKM Mani, and check it and set it to always tick pause and refresh pause. And come back to the game mode, replace the third person character with playable Metahuman. So now it's not working because I just forget to go to the event graph and add a call to the parent function here. And now it will work as expected, with no issue with the hair. Now we are going to see how we can make DialogueMaster to play body animation on our character when they are talking, so the conversation just looks more natural. If you don't have any animation, you can just download the DialogueMaster demo project and migrate the Mixamo animes that we have already retargeted for you. So you can just take the UE file retargeted, right click on it and migrate it. So it will select everything needed. And we are going to migrate it to our project, so to the DialogueMaster tuto for me. Select the content folder, and here you can click on yes and apply it to all. This might take a while, but when it's done you can close the demo project and come back to your project, and now we have the retargeted animation here. Now we are going to replace the default Deacon actor with a Metahuman, so just remove it from the level and select a Metahuman you want to use. I will use Miles as an example. Duplicate it. I will name it BP Miles actor. Open it, and we are going to add the tag so DialogueMaster can find that he is Deacon. So select this, search for tags, and add the Deacon tag. Compile and save it. Now, to avoid to have to re-implement the DialogActorInterface on every Metahuman actor, we will reparent the Metahuman actor to BP DialogActor. That is a class we created before. So go to class settings, and you can change the parent class to BP Dialog character, and we will redo the same setup we've done for the main character. So we take the root, drag and drop it to the mesh, then we reset the location, and then we go to live retarget and we enable use live retarget mode. Now we will hide the mesh, search for visible, and check it, and modify the visibility based anim tick option to always tick pause and refresh pause. Compile and save it. Now you can place the actor in the scene and update the NPC reference to our new actor. To play body animations, DialogueMaster needs to know which part of your actor is the body. To find the body, DialogueMaster uses the same method as to find the actor through a tag. So we will add a tag to our actor body. So there is a general rules for the body tag. The body tag has to be set on the master pose component if you have a modular character as an example, or simply on the mesh component if it's a simple character. It always has to be set on the component that drives the animation of your character, so it's the component that owns the anim BP. And the anim BP has to have a default slot in it to be able to play anim montages. So in our case, the component that drives the animation is the mesh, because we use the dialog character as a main base class. So what we can do is open the base class, select the mesh, and here we had the tag body on this component. If you use directly Metahumans, you will have to set it on its body. But in our case, because the mesh is driving the animation, we set it directly on the mesh. And to allow our player character to also play body animation, you can open the playable Metahuman and open the base class, so open base third-person character. Select the mesh, because it's also this mesh that drives the animation for our main character, and add the body tag to it. So to test it out, we are going to create a new dialog. So come back here in the dialog system dialogs and create a new dialog asset. I will name it example animation dialog. Open it. And here we can add the configuration. So we have our player. Set the default shot for the player to front right player camera. Then add the Deacon actor. We can change the color for the player and for Deacon. Set the default shot for Deacon to front left actor camera. And now we can add a node for Deacon. And it will say, "Hi, I'm Deacon." And we will add a body animation. So we can take as an example UE5 talking montage. So Deacon will play this animation. So save it, come back to the level, select the trigger volume, and change the dialog to example animation dialog. Save all, and hit play, and now the character is moving. So to have a better dialog example, we will come back here and add more node. I will add another actor, so we will configure another Metahuman. So go to speaker, dialog actors, and add a new actor. I will call him Sam. We can set another color for him. He will have the same default shot, front left actor camera. And then we can add dialog line for Sam. So you can say, "And I'm Sam." And then Deacon can maybe say, "Can we do something for you?" And then maybe the player will have choice to do. So we can add a dialog node for player. And I will set multiple sentences to this node. And because the player has a choice to do, I set an empty node here, so the camera will shot the player when the choice is weighted. So we will have a first option where the player asks for a job. "Yes, do you have any job for me?" And another option where we say, "No, I am just walking around." And here you see that you have a short spoken text. So when you have a long answer like this, you can set a short text. So for this one, you can say as an example, ask for permission. And this is shown here. And for this one, you can set it to nothing. And the UI will automatically take the short text to display in the UI. But if you don't set a short text, it will take the default text. So if you have long text, it's really recommended to add a short text. So save it. And now we can add body animation for every node. So select the node, pick an animation, save it. So we are missing an actor, so we are going to configure another Metahuman for the Sam character. So duplicate the BP, name it manual actor, and change the base class to dialogue character. Then you can take the Metahuman root and drag and drop it to the mesh. Go to BP manual actor root, search for tag, and add the Sam tag. Compile and save it. Then we can reset the location, enable the live retargeting, and hide the mesh. And finally, change the visibility based anim tick option. Now we can take the actor and drag and drop it into the level, and we will place the actor just like that. And now if we hit play, we can see that both of them are found by DialogueMaster. And we can answer the dialogue with the UI. And here in the UI we have the short text. As you can see, there is a little delay before it's display. So to avoid this little delay, you can come back here and reduce the default duration to, as an example, 0.1. And now the delay might be lower, just like that. And if you want no delay, you can also set this value to 0 and there will be no delay. This node is here because we want the camera to be targeted on the player when we wait for his choice. As you can see, the character for Deacon and Sam are a little bit smaller than the character for the player. So if you want to adjust the camera shot from the dialogue, you can change it here on the default shot and modify the camera additive offset, so we can lower the camera so it's look more equal between the three characters. An example, we can lower than with 10 centimeters, and we can also do it for Sam. We just checked it and it's a little bit better. Now we are going to configure the LiveLink face app to record facial animation. To do so, you will need your IP address. And to find your IP address, you can go and open the CMD and execute the ipconfig command. And you will get your local IP here. Then you can open the LiveLink face app and go to the settings, LiveLink. And then you can set a new target, and in the IP address you set the IP address that you get from the ipconfig command. Then you can come back in the editor, and here we will place a Metahuman in the scene. You can take BP Miles as an example, and here you can select in the higher kit face subject your mobile phone, and it will now be synchronized with your phone. Now to record an animation, you can go to Windows Cinematics Take Recorder, and in the Take Recorder you can add source. If you want to record from Miles, you can take it from here, So it will record all the animation on mouse. And if you want also to have your audio to be recorded, you can select microphone audio. It will take the audio from your computer, so you have to have a microphone. So to record a take, you can push the record button here. And as you can see, there is a little delay before it starts. Hi, I'm Deacon. And if you don't want this delay, you can open the settings here and scroll down to countdown and set it to 0. So you can now start recording just by hitting the button. So let's redo it. Hi, I'm Deacon. And now the takes are here in content cinematics takes, and you should have your two scenes. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. Here is the audio. Hi, I'm Deacon. And here is the facial animation that has been recorded. Now all you have to do is to create any montage from this animation. You can name it with the text you said, and you can come back in your dialogue, and on the node you can set the animation here and the voice sound. Hi, I'm Deacon. Now just let's try it. Hi, I'm Deacon. And as you can see, the facial animation is not working. That's because we missed a step. So you can select the actor and edit it. And what you have to do is now to go to the face and add a tag head on it. Compile and save it. And now it should work. Hi, I'm Deacon. One important thing you have to do is also to check if this parameters, so visibility based anim tick option, is set on only tick montage when not rendered, because if you play with your camera and your character is not in the camera field, it will not start the montage, and you might have unsync lip sync because of that. Note that you can clear your takes folder because we don't need this, and in the subfolder we also don't need this. In the animation we just need the facial animation, so you just can delete all other things in this folder and do the same for every take. Now we are going to speak about the branching node. So it's relative with conditional dialogue. You can come back in her dialogue, and here we are going to add a new branching node. So our NPC are going to act differently if it's the first time that the player speak with them, or if it's second or third time. A branching node can have multiple outputs, so we just add more response and reroute this start to the branching node, and then set the first sentence to Hi, I'm Deacon. And we are going to add another answer for Deacon, and here he is going to say, "Oh, it's you again." And if you want that the first time NPC say this sentence, "Hi, I'm Deacon," but the second time they say, "Oh, it's you again," you can select this node and check the playable only once option. What it does is that if the node has never been reached, it will play this one, because the branching node is going to test if this node has ever been reached, and if it's not the case, it will play it. But if the condition is not verified, it will iterate between the different sentences starting from the top, and if the condition is not true, so if the node has ever been reached, it's going to play the next node that has a verified condition. Let's test it. Hi, I'm Deacon. So the first time it played I am Deacon, and now it play "Oh, it's you again." The playable only once option is just a basic condition. You can have more advanced condition, and what we are going to do now is adding more nodes to our dialogue so we can experiment a little bit with advanced condition. So let's do it. Now we are going to customize our dialogue, so when the player has asked information for a job, it will not display this option anymore. So what we can do is that when the player selects this option, here we have the update switch value parameters, and when we add something in this, it's update what we call a switch. A switch is just a variable stored in memory that you can name and store a value here. So I will name it received village quest info, and I will set it to true. So the description is updated on the node, so you can see it quickly when you read the dialog graph. And the second thing we have to do, so here we modify the switch value, and here we are going to test the switch value. So on this node, we are going to add a switch condition. So add a switch prerequisite, and here we are going to check if received village quest info is false. Now we can test it. So when we ask for information about the village, when we come back, the NPC is not going to propose us to do something for us. So the first time, hi, I'm Deacon, they propose me to do something for me. But if I answer with nothing, if I come back, they repropose me to do something for me. Now I will ask for a mission. Now I accept the mission. And if I come back, they don't propose me to do something for me, but they still ask if I want to help the village. That's because we haven't done anything when we accept the mission. So let's do it now. So come back in the dialog, and here when we accept the mission, we are going to set another switch to true. So let's name it village quest accepted. And here we are going to add a new node where we check if this quest is accepted. And now if we test it, hi, I'm Deacon. They propose me to do something for me. I refuse, so if I come back, they propose me to do something for me again. Now I ask for mission. Here I will accept the mission. And if I come back, they ask me if I have news about the village. And if we withdraw the test but we decline the mission, hi, I'm Deacon. Here we decline the mission. And now if we come back, they ask us if we change our mind. Now we will accept the mission. And if we come back, they ask if we have news about the village. To set up advanced condition, you also have another option. So switch are Boolean variable, and you also have counter prerequisites. They are integer value. So you can check counter value. You have multiple operator. You can check if the counter is equal to a value. So here let's check with 5. If it's equal to 5, or if it's not equal to 5, if it's greater than 5, greater or equals to 5, smaller than 5, or smaller or equals to 5. And when you set a counter, you have also operator, so you can set the counter to a value, or you can increment the counter or decrement the counter. When you increment the counter, it will add the new value to the current value, and when you decrement the counter, it will subtract the new value from the current value. So it's really a flexible system. Now I will show you how you can expand the DialogueMaster functionality to integrate with your existing gameplay mechanics. To do so, we will implement a very basic inventory component, so we can have a concrete example of a procedure to integrate gameplay mechanics with DialogueMaster. So let's implement this basic inventory component. Create a new blueprint class and select actor component as the base class. In this component, we are going to add a string array variable. it restores the items that the player possesses, and we had two functions, add item to add an item to the array, and as item to check if an item is present in the array. So let's implement add item, implement it this way. And implement as items this way. Now go to the BP playable Metahuman and add the basic inventory component to this blueprint. Now we are going to create an advanced prerequisite to check if an item is present in the player inventory. And we are also going to implement a dialog action to add an item to the player inventory. Let's start with the advanced prerequisite. Go to Dialog System, and here you're going to create a new folder to store advanced prerequisite. And here you can create a new blueprint class, and in whole class search for advanced prerequisite buys and name it BP as item. Open it. Here you can override two functions. You have check prerequisite and get description. So check prerequisite is called when a dialog node with this condition set on it is reached during the dialog execution. If it's returned true, the condition is valid, and if it returns false, the condition is not valid. So all you have to do in this method is to check if your custom prerequisite is verified and return true if it's the case, or false otherwise. You have multiple input. So you receive an input with a reference to the player and a reference to the main NPC. These values are the one you passed in parameter when you called the playDialog method. This way you can easily perform checks either on the player or on the NPC. The other function, getDescription, is used to display a description of the condition in the dialog graph, so the dialog graph is easily understandable. So first we are going to implement check prerequisite. Implement it this way. Here you can add a needed item variable and set it instance editable and expose on spawn, and use it as an input to has item. And now implement get description. Now you can go to the dialog graph, and here we can add a new dialog line for Gcon. And we will say, wow, your sword looks epic, where did you find it? Here you can add a new response to the branching node. Just reroute like this. And on this new node, you can add a new condition. So go to advanced prerequisite and add a BP has item condition. And here you can edit your condition. So let's check if the player has the epic sword in its inventory. And now if the player has the epic sword in its inventory, it will play this node. You can also check so it is played only once. So check the playable only once parameter. And now we are going to create a new custom action. So when the player answers with I want a sword, Sam will give him a sword. Come back in the dialog system folder, and here you can create a new folder. And in this new folder, create a new blueprint class. And in all classes, search for DialogueMaster action. And name it give item action. Here you can override three functions. You can override initialize if you have something to initialize in it. If you override this function, you have to call the parent initialize function, otherwise the action will not work correctly because of missing important attribute initialization performed by the parent class. GetDescription is also used in the dialog graph, so it will display a description of the action in the dialog graph. And trigger is the event that will be called when the dialog line is reached. Every action have a trigger moment parameter that can be at the beginning of the dialog line, or at the end of the dialog line, or both at the beginning and the end of the dialog line. Depending on this parameter, the trigger function can be called at the beginning, at the end, or both, beginning and end, of the dialog line. In the trigger function implementation, you can do anything you want: open, close a door, give an item to the player, trigger an explosion in the environment, etc. So let's implement now the give item action. Add an item name variable, make it instance editable and expose on spawn. Then implement the getDescription function. And now implement the trigger event. Here you have a player reference and an NPC reference that you can access to perform your action. Here we need the player, and on the player we are going to get the basic inventory component, and on the inventory component we had the item. Now we can come back to the dialog graph and use this section. So select the SAM node where you give the player the sword, scroll down to dialog action and add a new element. Select the give item action, and here we can configure our option. So configure it so it gives the epic sword to the player, and then when the player comes back it will trigger this option. Here we will also select playable only once. So test it. Hi, I'm Deacon. No, I can't say that I want a sword. So Sam give it to me. And when I come back, now the NPC reacts to my sword. And because it's already triggered the dialog node to notice the sword, now it's play the how it's you again node. So everything is working correctly. Now that you've learned how to integrate DialogueMaster into your project and explore the various systems for condition and action, you're well on your way to building powerful and dynamic dialogues. But before we wrap things up, I've got a few extra tips and tricks to help you get even more out of DialogueMaster. Let's dive into some advanced techniques that can make your dialogue system even more flexible and efficient. As your dialogue system grows in complexity, managing large dialogue trees within a single file can quickly become overwhelming. That's where the Subdialog feature comes in. This powerful tool allows you to break down your dialogue tree into smaller, more manageable sections by linking multiple dialogue files together. With Subdialogs, you can organize your conversations into different files for specific characters, quests, or scenarios, making it easier to maintain and expand your dialogue system. Whether you're building intricate branching paths or handling modular storylines, Subdialogs give you the flexibility to keep your workflow clean and efficient while keeping everything connected seamlessly. Let's take a closer look at how to use this feature to streamline your complex dialogue structures. So, based on our example, let's imagine that we want to handle this quest dialogue in another file. You can create another dialogue. Just reconfigure the actors. Then you can select this node and you can remove the text. And you can add a new action and use the play subdialog action. And in its details, you can select this subdialog to play. So now when we dive into a quest, the subdialog will start. Let's test it out. Hi, I'm Deacon. And as you can see, it worked. Now that you're familiar with organizing complex dialogues using subdialogues, let's move on to something that can really bring your dialogue scenes to life, creating custom camera shots in Unreal Engine. The right camera angles and movement can dramatically enhance the storytelling in your dialogues, making scenes more immersive and dynamic. With custom camera shots, you can take full control of how your dialogue sequences are visually presented. Whether you want to add dramatic close-ups, over-the-shoulder shots, or sweeping cinematic angles, Unreal Engine gives you the flexibility to create stunning camera work that complements your narrative. In this section, we'll walk through the process of setting up custom camera shots, adjusting camera transition, and integrating them seamlessly into your dialogue scenes. By the end, you'll be able to craft cinematic moments that captivate your players and elevate your storytelling to the next level. So now let's create a new camera shot. To do so, we are going to create a new folder, create a new blueprint class, and in all classes, search for Camera Shot Master. Open it, and to visualize the result, drag and drop it into the level, and place it at the character root location. Here you have the result. And here we can edit the camera position. And when it's look great for you, you can compile and save it. Then remove it from the level. And now you can use it in a dialogue. Here I'm going to add a node for Deacon. This node will remain empty because I just want this node to place the new camera we created. So here you can select the camera shot. Here we have large top view. And then if you don't want this node to replace this camera, you can select this node and select the option no camera replacement. It will prevent the node to apply a new camera from the actor configuration or from this array. Let's test it out. Hi, I'm Deacon. As you've seen, the custom camera shot we just created is now being used seamlessly within DialogueMaster. You now have the ability to create any viewpoint you desire to enhance your dialogues and storytelling. But if you want to push things even further and achieve a more cinematic experience, there's an even more powerful tool at your disposal, the LevelSequence. In this section, we'll explore how to create a LevelSequence and set up your camera movements. By the end, you'll be able to craft visually stunning cutscenes and dialogue moments that feel like they belong in high-budget movie or AAA games. So let's create a new LevelSequence. Here you can create on this button to create a new camera and set it as a current camera cut. And here you can control the camera. First thing we are going to do is to change the crop settings and set it to 2.39. So it looks really more cinematic. And now you can place the camera to get the result you want. When the position is correct for you, you can add a new keyframe, so it memorizes the position of the camera. You can also add a keyframe for the manual focus distance. So let's create a camera animation. When your sequence is created, you can go back to the dialogue. And here I'm going to add a note here to wait a little delay to allow the zoom to be performed. And it will also start the level sequence. Here you can configure the level sequence to play. And we will add a little delay here. So let's try with 1.5 seconds. Here the option to have no camera replacement is already checked, so it's okay. Let's test it out. Hi, I'm Deacon. So the transition is a little bit fast, so let's adjust that. Hi, I'm Deacon. This is quite better. With level sequences, you can now add a truly cinematic layer to your dialogue scenes. This allows you to fully immerse your players in the story with seamless transitions and captivating visuals that go far beyond static dialogues. Now let's move on to another powerful feature of DialogueMaster, the DialogueMasterCharacterInterface. This interface is designed for situations where you need more control over when and how dialogue starts. It's especially useful if you need to validate whether the player can enter a dialogue, for example, if they're in combat or another situation that should prevent dialogue. Additionally, you can delay the start of a dialogue to perform specific actions before it begins, such as animation or repositioning. To use this interface, you'll need to implement two key functions that allow for these checks and delays. Let's look at some use cases. On the player character, you might want to unequip a weapon or reposition the character before the dialogue starts. Or on an NPC character, you could wait for an animation to finish, like a crafter completing their work, or check if the NPC is alive before initiating a conversation. In this example, I will show you how to use this interface to reposition the player character to a predefined location and rotation when the dialogue starts, ensuring the scene plays out exactly as you envision. So first thing we are going to do is to add the interface to BP Playable Metahuman. Go to Class Settings and add the DialogueMasterCharacterInterface to it. Here in Interfaces, you should have these two functions, so implement both of them. So this function, CanEnterDialogue, is called to check if entering a dialogue is possible. Its parameters are a user object. It's any object that the user may need to use to perform a decision or action, but can be set when calling the playDialogue method on the DialogueMasterComponent, and it returns true if you authorize the dialogue to start, false otherwise. You also have onBeforeEnterDialogue, and this function is called just before starting the dialogue if CanEnterDialogue have returned true, and can be used to perform action before starting the dialogue. For example, unequip player weapon, reposition the character, etc. Here we are going to reposition the character, and it will delay the dialogue with the amount of seconds you return, because here you can return an amount of seconds. The parameter is the same as the previous function, and the return value is, as I said, the time in seconds that the dialogue starts should be delayed. So in our example, CanEnterDialogue will return true, and for onBeforeEnterDialogue, we will use a user object that we will pass in the DialogueMasterComponent. This user object will be an arrow that we will position in the level. So to reposition the character, there will be two steps. So let's implement that. Here, because we know we are using an arrow, we cast it to an arrow component. Here with set world transform, we reposition the character to the world transform of the arrow. And in this second phase, we get the offset of the character, and we reapply this offset inverted to the capsule, so it's correctly positioned. Here we return 0 because the repositioning will be instantaneous. Now we are going to edit the dialogue trigger volume. Here we are going to add an arrow, and we will add the reposition location to the user object reference. So we will get this reposition location in the onBeforeEnterDialog method. Here in user object you can pass anything you may need in these functions. Now we are going to position the arrow in the level. So select the trigger value, and here select the arrow, and now you can change its position. Let's try it. So I come from here and I will be repositioned.
Hi,
it works as you can see.
Deacon.
As you can see, the DialogMaster character interface offers great flexibility for controlling how and when the dialogue starts. Whether you need to reposition characters, wait for animations to finish, or ensure the player isn't in combat, this interface gives you the power to fine-tune your dialogue experience. It ensures that everything is in the right place before the conversation begins, adding a layer of immersion and fluidity to your game. Now, let's move on to another important feature, the dialogue state save system. Keeping track of your dialogue state is crucial for delivering a consistent and immersive experience, especially in games where player choices affect the story. This system allows you to save and load the state of dialogues, ensuring that the game remembers which conversations have been had, what decisions were made, and how the story is unfolding. Whether it's remembering a player's choice in a branching dialogue tree or preventing the same conversation from happening twice, this save system ensures that the narrative flow stays intact across playthroughs. Let's dive into how it works and how you can implement it in your project. So, to save or load your dialogue state, you have two functions on the DialogueMasterComponent: save switches and counters, and load switches and counters. Let's try these two functions. We are going to add a key event in the player character. So open playable Metahuman. And here we are going to add two key events. Now we can get the PlayerController and get the DialogueMasterComponent. And on the DialogueMasterComponent, you can call save switches and counter and load switches and counter. The save system is based on the Unreal save system, so it's also take a slot name and a user index. Let's test it out.
Hi, I'm Deacon.
Save the game and restart. Load the data. And as you can see, the characters are remembering that we came speak to them. This save system is asynchronous, so if you want to know when the save and load are finished, you can check the default implementation in VPC DialogueMasterComponent. And here you have the bind event, one on save down and one on load down, and you can use this as a base for your save system. Congratulations, you've now got all the tools you need to bring your stories to life using DialogueMaster. From managing complex dialogue trees and creating cinematic camera shots, to controlling when conversation starts and saving the state of your dialogues, you have everything in place to build immersive, dynamic narratives. Whether your game is simple or highly intricate, DialogueMaster gives you the flexibility and power to create the dialogues and stories you've imagined. Thank you for following along, and I can't wait to see the incredible worlds and characters you'll create.